Before there were tools to measure it, before anyone even knew it existed, light had already been writing its story across the sky. It moved through morning fog and danced on the surface of rivers. It painted trees golden in the early sun and made shadows stretch long and lazy across the grass. But no one knew what it was. Was it a thing? Was it a wave? Was it a spark from the heavens, or something the eyes only imagined? People lived beneath it, bathed in it, warmed by it. But for a long, long time, no one could explain it. Long ago in the ancient world, people believed light was sent from the gods. Some said it was fire from the sun, reaching down like invisible fingers. Others thought it was something the eye created, shooting out like beams to touch the world. It was both mysterious and ordinary, always there but never fully seen. It made the world visible but stayed hidden itself. Like a secret helper, it made everything known while keeping its own name tucked away in silence. Then came the thinkers, gentle minds who sat quietly and wondered. In ancient Greece, a man named Euclid imagined light like lines drawn with a ruler. He thought it traveled in straight paths, bouncing off surfaces just like a ball. Another man, Ptolemy, played with glass and water and noticed how light bent. He didn't know why, but he wrote it down. Their ideas were like soft footsteps in a foggy morning, uncertain but leading somewhere. Centuries passed, and slowly the questions grew sharper. In the Middle Ages, people noticed how sunlight coming through a small hole painted a perfect shape on the wall. They made dark rooms, tiny windows, and waited. The light didn't rush, it slid in quietly like a whisper. What they saw amazed them. A glowing image, upside down, painted with light alone. They called it a camera obscura, a dark chamber, and it became one of the first ways humans learned to trap light. Still, no one knew what light was made of. It wasn't until the 1600s in a small English garden that a man named Isaac Newton decided to split it open. He held a prism, a clear triangle of glass, up to the sunlight, and the beam broke apart. Out came colors, soft and bright: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. A hidden rainbow inside something that had always seemed pure and white. Newton showed the world that white light was not a single color, but many woven together like threads in a quiet cloth. He bent light, shaped it, and tried to understand it, not with magic but with patience. But Newton thought light was made of little particles, tiny pieces that moved in straight lines. That made sense sometimes, but there were others who didn't agree. A man named Thomas Young came later, and he had a different dream. What if light wasn't made of bits but waves, like ripples in a pond when a stone falls in? He built a careful experiment. He let light shine through two narrow slits, side by side, and watched what happened on the wall behind. The result wasn't two bright spots. It was a pattern with dark and bright bands like a soft zebra made of sunlight. The waves, it seemed, had crossed and canceled each other in places, just like ripples do. Light, then, could move like water. It was confusing. Was light a particle or a wave? Could it be both? For many years, scientists argued gently and respectfully, like poets trying to describe a dream. Each had their evidence. Each had their metaphors. But the light didn't choose, it simply kept shining. Then in the early 1900s, another quiet mind entered the story. His name was Albert Einstein. He looked at the way light touched metal and caused electrons to jump off. If light were only a wave, it wouldn't make sense. But if it were tiny packets of energy, what he called quanta, then everything changed. He said light came in small bursts, like invisible seeds. That idea helped build quantum theory, one of the strangest and most powerful ideas in science. Now light was both wave and particle. Not one or the other, but something stranger, something softer. It depended on how you looked, like a story that changes depending on who is listening. Light could bounce, it could bend, it could pass through walls or reflect off mirrors. It could warm your skin or power a solar panel. It could bring life to plants or travel from stars millions of years away. It was the language of the universe, spoken in silence. Even now, scientists continue to chase it. They study photons, tiny particles of light, with tools that are colder than space and faster than lightning. They use lasers to cut through cells or send messages across oceans. They used telescopes to catch light from galaxies so far away that their glow began before humans were born. And still, no one is completely sure what light truly is. It keeps some of its secrets, tucked deep in its shine. But one thing is clear. Without light, we would never have seen the world. We would never have asked questions or drawn maps or painted dreams. Light is what lets us see, but it is also what leads us to wonder. It is both the answer and the beginning of every question. It dances across water and rests on mountaintops. It slides through windows and wakes us from sleep. It is old. It is young. It is the oldest story never told in full. As night falls and stars begin to blink in the sky, remember this. The light from those stars began their journey long ago, before you even opened your eyes. They have crossed time and silence to meet your gaze, and in their glow, a quiet truth remains. The universe has always been whispering, and it speaks most clearly in light. Let's drift deeper now, not into darkness, but into the soft middle space where understanding begins to glow. Light is not just something we see, it's something that makes asterisk seeing possible. Without it, the world would be a silent shape hidden in shadow. But light does more than just show. It builds, it nourishes, it holds the instructions for life. On Earth, the story of light is not just a story of vision, it's a story of survival. Imagine a green leaf soaking in sunlight. It doesn't just sit there. Inside, something beautiful happens. Tiny cells gather the sun's warmth and spin it into food. This quiet magic is called photosynthesis. It is how plants eat light. They take sunlight, mix it with water and air, and make sugar their meal. In doing so, they release oxygen, the air we breathe. A leaf, small and silent, becomes a tiny kitchen, feeding not just itself but everything around it. Trees become bridges between the sky and the soil, and the sun is their trusted partner. Every forest, every field of grass, every piece of fruit on your plate, it is all sunlight caught and transformed. You could even say that we too are made of light. The food we eat, the breath we take, the warmth in our skin, all are echoes of a sunbeam that touched the earth long before it touched us. Light travels in straight lines, but its effects spiral outwards, reaching through soil and blood and thought. Now imagine your own eye, not just what it sees, but how it sees. Light enters the eye and bends through the curved glass of the cornea. It squeezes through a dark circle, the pupil, and lands on the retina, a thin layer at the back of the eye. Their cells called rods and cones wait like quiet watchers. Rods catch shadows and cones catch color. They send tiny messages to the brain, which we read as vision. The world, as you know it, is not made of objects. It is made of light reflecting off those objects, entering your eyes and becoming meaning. Even the brain, hidden and silent, depends on light. There is a small part deep within it called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your inner clock. It listens to light, gently tuning your body's rhythm to the rise and fall of the sun. When morning arrives, light slips through your eyelids and sends signals. Wake up, it's time. When evening fades, the light dims and your body begins to rest. Sleep, hunger, alertness, all these are tied to the light that finds its way into your life. And light, strange and loyal, is not limited to the sun. It glows in unexpected places. Deep beneath the ocean where no sunlight reaches, tiny creatures make their own. They use chemical reactions to glow in the dark, a gift called bioluminescence. It's not just beautiful, it's useful. Some flash to warn, others glow to lure. In that deep blackness, light becomes a voice. Even our machines now mimic this. Light pulses through fiber optic cables, carrying your voice, your videos, your thoughts from one end of the planet to the other. The internet is not a web of wires. It is a web of light, flashing, bouncing, whispering in languages only computers understand. Our cities shine with street lamps, headlights, phones. Light, once rare and sacred, now floods our nights. Yet even now, in all its commonness, it hasn't lost its mystery. Think of a laser, light that is focused so perfectly, so precisely, that it can cut through steel or scan your eyes or carry music through the air. It's made by aligning the waves of light so they move together, like dancers stepping in time. It's not brighter than other light, but more organized, more patient, a whisper sharpened into a thread. But light has moods. It can be soft or sharp, warm or cold. It can glow gently like a candle or sting like lightning. It moves fast, so fast that in a single second it can circle the Earth more than 7 times. Yet even at that speed, it can take billions of years to reach us from the farthest galaxies. Light is both a traveler and a message. When you look up at the stars, you are not just seeing their beauty. You are seeing their past. Some of the stars you see tonight may no longer exist. Their light is still on its way. And that brings us to something soft and almost painful, the idea that light is memory. It records, it carries, it tells us what was. Through telescopes, we catch the light of things long gone and study their shape. We know the age of stars, the movement of galaxies, the birth of planets because of the light they left behind. It is as if the universe keeps a diary and every entry is written in photons. But even now, there are kinds of light we cannot see. We live in a tiny sliver of the spectrum called visible light. Beyond it are other kinds: ultraviolet, infrared, radio waves, X-rays, gamma rays. These are all forms of light, just with different wavelengths. Bees can see ultraviolet. Snakes can sense infrared. The world is full of light that humans cannot detect unless we build tools to help us. So we do. Telescopes that see in microwaves. Cameras that sense heat. Satellites that map radiation. Every tool opens a new window. Every discovery shows us a little more of what has always been there. Yet for all that we know, there's still something quiet and unknowable about light. It doesn't need to be understood to be felt. It doesn't ask to be named. It only asks to be noticed. It falls on the face of a newborn child and on the hands of an old woman planting seeds. It slips through trees and pools on wooden floors. It makes rainbows and shadows, reflections and halos. It wraps the world in color and keeps time moving forward. And when it fades, when the sky darkens and the world grows quiet, light leaves behind not emptiness but memory. The warmth of it lingers on walls. The glow stays tucked behind closed eyes, and even in the dark our bodies remember its shape. Light is not just what we see. It is what makes seeing possible. It is not just part of our world. It is asterisk our world. So let yourself rest beneath it. Let it slide over your skin. Let it pass through you like a breath you didn't know you needed. Because light doesn't just travel, it touches, it holds, it heals. And in its silent passing, it reminds us that we too are part of something glowing and ancient, something always moving, something quietly alive. Now let's move gently toward the close of this quiet journey, the long, glowing path of light from ancient skies to curious minds. In its final pages, this story is not about answers. It's about the peace that comes from wonder, about resting in the presence of something too wide to grasp, too gentle to shout, too old to rush. Light has guided us, healed us, revealed us, and still it keeps its soft secrets folded in the folds of time. In the 20th century, as scientists continued to chase photons through labs and telescopes, something astonishing emerged. Light could be bent, not just by glass or water but by space itself. According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, gravity could curve the very shape of space and time. And where space bends, so does light. This idea, once only whispered among equations, was proven when starlight passed near the sun during an eclipse. The light curved ever so slightly, a gentle bow in the cosmic fabric. It was as if the universe had nodded in agreement with Einstein's dream. This bending of light, called gravitational lensing, allows us to see things hidden behind stars and galaxies. It lets astronomers peer deeper into the past than ever before. Sometimes the light we see has traveled around entire galaxies to reach us, bending, stretching, looping through space like a ribbon on the wind. These are not tricks of light, they are truths. Quiet truths that remind us how connected everything is. And still, the more we understand, the more softly we must speak. In recent decades, scientists have discovered something called dark energy, a force that seems to be stretching the universe apart. It moves faster than light, perhaps, or maybe light is too slow to catch it. No one knows for sure. Light has always been our guide, our measuring stick, our cosmic clock. But now, something darker looms at the edge of everything, something we cannot see, only guess. And once again, light becomes our messenger. We build machines to listen, giant mirrors buried in mountains, telescopes so large they can catch a single particle of light from the dawn of time. We point them at black holes, places where light disappears completely, and listen to the silence. Not all light escapes. Some is swallowed, some is bent into spirals, some sings its last note before fading into nothing. And even this teaches us something. That light has limits, that even it must rest, that perhaps even in darkness there is wisdom. But light is not only in space. It is in us, in the spark of a thought, in the rhythm of a heartbeat guided by circadian rhythms, in the slow communication between cells in the retina, the gentle flicker of neurons in sleep. It's in the flick of a candle on a cold night, the golden spill of sun on a child's cheek, the warmth that settles in the bones at dusk. It is not simply a scientific idea. It is a human feeling. And because of this, artists and poets have loved light for as long as we have had stories. They have painted it on ceilings and carved it into stained glass. They have written about morning and shadow, about hope and warmth, about the way light touches everything and changes nothing while changing everything. In every tradition, every culture, light is a symbol of awakening, of goodness, of clarity. To walk into the light is to understand. To come out of darkness is to be born again. But perhaps what we love most about light is that it always returns. It leaves gently with the setting of the sun. It hides softly behind clouds or walls, but it always finds a way back, through cracks in doors, through leaves and windows, through dreams. Morning always comes, not loudly but quietly. It doesn't demand, it doesn't force, it simply arrives. So as you sit now, wherever you are, think about the light around you. It may be artificial, a bulb above, a screen glowing, or it may be natural, filtered through curtains, spilling across a table. That light has traveled far, whether from a power station or from the surface of the sun. It carries a story older than fire, older than thought, and you are part of that story. Your eyes take it in. Your brain turns it into pictures. Your heart makes meaning from it. Light may be science, but it is also song. A rhythm, a breath, a soft unfolding. It touches the smallest things, a grain of dust, a strand of hair, and the largest, the curve of the earth, the swirl of galaxies. And in that span, that graceful reach, we find a sense of peace. Not because we understand everything, but because we don't have to. Light has always been there, quiet, constant, kind. And maybe that is its final gift, not just vision, not just energy, but comfort. A reminder that even in the vastness of the universe, even in its coldest corners, something is always shining. Something is always reaching out. And all we have to do is notice. So close your eyes if you like. Let the afterglow rest behind your eyelids. Let the world soften. The light will still be there when you wake. It always is. Time has always felt like a river, always flowing, always moving in one direction. It pulls us forward from moment to moment, quiet and invisible. You cannot hold it, cannot pause it. You can only feel it passing, like wind on your cheek or the slow warmth of afternoon sun. But what if that river didn't move the same for everyone? What if time, the thing we trust most to be steady, could stretch, bend, or even slow down? Long before anyone had a name for it, people sensed that time was more than just numbers on a clock. It felt different when you were waiting or running or dreaming. But we didn't have the tools to measure those differences. Clocks ticked forward, and so did we. Then, over 100 years ago, a quiet young man with wild hair and patient eyes asked a question no one else had dared. His name was Albert Einstein, and he wondered, what if time wasn't fixed? To answer that, he looked not at ticking clocks but at light. Light, he believed, held the key to something deeper. It always moved at the same speed no matter what. Whether it came from a candle or a star, whether you were standing still or flying through space, light did not rush or crawl, it just moved. That strange constancy made Einstein pause. If light never changes speed, then something else must. And that something, he realized, was time. He called it relativity, a soft word for a wild idea. According to his theory, time moves slower for things that move faster. Imagine two twins. One stays on Earth. The other climbs into a spaceship and travels close to the speed of light. When the spacefaring twin returns, less time will have passed for them. They will be younger than their sibling, though they shared the same birth. Time, it seems, is not universal. It listens to motion. It bends to speed. And gravity, too, can pull at time. Einstein saw space and time not as separate things but as threads in the same fabric. And just like fabric, they could stretch and fold. Massive objects like the Earth, the Sun, even black holes make dents in this fabric. And those dents slow time. A clock on a mountain ticks just a little faster than one at sea level. The difference is tiny, but it's real. We live our lives believing time is steady, but beneath us, around us, it drifts gently, tugged by mass and motion. Think of the GPS in your phone. It only works because satellites orbiting the Earth adjust their clocks, accounting for the way time flows differently up there than it does down here. Without Einstein's ideas, your maps would be wrong. Your directions would drift. The very idea of where depends on our understanding of when. But relativity doesn't make time unreliable. It makes it tender. It reminds us that time is not a ruler etched in stone, but a ribbon floating in space. It's sensitive. It changes shape. It listens. And in this softness there is beauty. Now close your eyes and imagine a black hole, a place where gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape. Here, time stretches to its limits. To fall toward a black hole is to watch the universe speed up while your own clock slows. From the outside, it seems as though you are frozen, barely moving. From your view, time flows as usual, but the rest of the cosmos races ahead. Time slows so much that it nearly stops. In that silence, relativity becomes not just science, but poetry. Einstein's ideas gave birth to a new understanding of the universe. No longer a giant machine ticking like a clock, it became a dance of curves and swells, of invisible rhythms and changing pace. Gravity became not just a force, but a shape. And time became a partner in that dance, spinning slowly in some places, leaping ahead in others, always listening to the quiet music of space. And though these ideas were bold, even strange, they proved true. Scientists sent light signals, measured time at different heights, watched the path of stars bend around invisible things. Each experiment whispered yes, yes, yes. The universe agrees. But still, we don't feel these changes. We don't sense the shift of time as we walk to the kitchen or rest under a tree. The differences are small here on Earth, but they remind us that we live inside something more flexible than we imagined. That the world we move through is not made of stillness, but of motion, of soft bending, of quiet change. Even your heartbeat, your breath, your thoughts, they all ride the gentle stream of time. But that stream is not straight. It flows through valleys and around curves, shaped by speed and gravity. And in knowing this, perhaps we can move through life with a little more wonder. Perhaps we can sit quietly, feel the seconds pass, and understand that they are not marching, they are dancing. So the next time you feel time race ahead or drag behind, remember, time is not a rule. It is a story, and you are part of it. A gentle chapter written in soft minutes, drifting through the fabric of space, carried by the quiet ripple of relativity. Let's drift a little deeper now, into the gentle folds of this invisible thing we call time. If you could reach out and hold a second in your hand, you might be surprised to find it's not always the same size. Sometimes it stretches. Sometimes it curls tightly like a sleeping cat. Sometimes it leaves more behind than it takes with it. This isn't just imagination, it's how the universe truly behaves. And while most of us move through our days thinking time is steady, in the language of the stars and galaxies, time is soft. Imagine standing beside a clock. You watch the hand tick forward, each second landing like a raindrop on the roof. Now imagine someone else running past that same clock fast, very fast, almost near the speed of light. If you could see through their eyes, you'd notice something strange. The clock's hands would tick slower for them. Not because the clock is broken, but because their motion changes how they experience time. This is called *** time dilation ***. And though it sounds like something out of a dream, it has been measured, observed, and used. In fact, astronauts aboard the International Space Station experience this in a small but real way. They orbit the Earth so fast that time passes just a little slower for them. When they return, they are younger by a fraction of a second. That might seem like nothing, but it matters. Time is elastic. The faster you move, the slower it wraps around you. But motion isn't the only thing that bends time. Gravity does too. The heavier an object, the more it warps the space around it. And since space and time are woven together like a single cloth, when you warp one, you pull on the other. Time ticks faster far from gravity and slower near it. That means a clock on top of a mountain ticks slightly faster than one in a valley. A clock in space ticks faster than one on Earth. These aren't tricks, they're truths. Gentle, precise, measurable truths. This is why we can't rely on just one kind of time anymore. Our world is built on satellites, signals, and synchronization. GPS satellites high above the Earth must adjust their clocks constantly, because time passes differently for them than it does for us on the ground. Without this correction, your maps would be wrong. Your calls would drift. Your connection to the world would loosen. Einstein's idea, once a strange whisper in a quiet mind, now keeps millions of devices working every day. But relativity isn't just about machines or math. It speaks to something tender inside us, something about how we experience life. Think about how time feels when you are with someone you love. Hours can pass like moments, or how a moment of fear can stretch into what feels like forever. The human heart is not governed by clocks. It listens to its own rhythms, shaped by memory, emotion, and meaning. In this way, we too are part of relativity. Our lives bend time in quiet ways. And then there is the dream of travel, not just through space, but through time. Could we move backward? Could we leap forward? Science fiction has played with these questions for years. And while we haven't found a way to move through time the way we move through cities, the mathematics of relativity leave tiny doors open. If we could move fast enough, close to the speed of light, we could skip ahead in time. The future would arrive more quickly for others while we remain nearly still. But going back, that path is foggier. The past is not a place we can visit, not yet, and maybe not ever. Still, even standing still, we are always traveling through time. Every heartbeat, every breath is a step forward. And in the curved space of the universe, this journey is never a straight line. Galaxies spin, stars drift, planets orbit, and we move with them, carried gently on the current of the cosmos. Even black holes, those mysterious, invisible wells in space, teach us about time's softness. Near a black hole, gravity is so strong that time nearly stops. A clock falling toward one ticks slower and slower until it barely moves at all. From far away, the object falling into the hole seems frozen, stuck forever on the edge. But from its own view, it keeps moving, keeps falling, through a stretch of time we cannot reach. This is not fiction. This is the math of reality. And it reminds us just how different time can be, depending on where and how you exist. There is something humbling in this, something beautiful. The idea that time is not fixed, not harsh, not cold. It is gentle, it listens, it changes with you, and in that changing it tells a deeper story. Think of ancient light from a distant star. That light has traveled billions of years to reach your eyes. By the time it touches your skin, the star may no longer exist, but the light keeps coming. That means the sky is full of ghosts, light from the past shining into our present. We are always looking into history, always seeing what was, not what is. Even sunlight, warm and familiar, takes 8 minutes to arrive. So every morning when the sun rises, it is already a memory. Time, then, is not just a line, it's a layer. It folds past into present, mixes light with longing. And we, small and curious, walk gently across it. So the next time you check your watch, think of the stars, think of satellites, think of gravity's silent tug, and think of Einstein scribbling quietly at his desk, reimagining time not as a ruler, but as a ribbon. And remember that even in your stillness, you are moving. Even in your sleep, you are drifting through this soft river. And every moment, every tick of the clock carries you deeper into the gentle wonder of relativity. Let's follow the last ripple of this quiet journey, the soft bend where the puzzle of time begins to settle. By now, you've drifted through the strange shapes of clocks that tick differently, of stars that stretch moments into light, of invisible gravity pulling on every second. But this story doesn't end in equations or telescopes. It ends right here with you. Because time, no matter how science bends and measures it, always returns to the heart. Einstein once said that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubborn illusion. He didn't mean it as poetry, he meant it as physics. To him, time was not a river flowing forward, but a landscape, a quiet field where every moment still exists, just in a different place. The past does not disappear. The future is not waiting to be born. Everything simply is, resting in a woven web called spacetime. In this view, time doesn't pass. We move through it like someone walking through a forest. We may remember the trees behind us and wonder about those ahead, but all of them are there, standing in their places. This thought is hard to hold. It feels too big, too quiet, but it gives comfort too. Maybe the people we miss aren't gone. Maybe the joy we once felt still exists, held somewhere in the gentle curve of time. Physicists continue to explore this. They build equations like lullabies, soft and complex, full of symbols that hum with meaning. They imagine wormholes, tunnels through spacetime that might one day allow us to skip like stones across the river of time. They speak of entropy, the measure of disorder, which might explain why we remember the past but not the future. Time may be a direction, not a force, a slope, not a speed. And while these ideas swirl gently in labs and journals, the heart simply listens. And the heart says, time feels fast when we laugh. Time feels heavy when we grieve. Time slows when we're alone. Time flies when we're loved. These are not scientific measurements, but they are real, because we are not clocks. We are not stopwatches. We are soft bodies full of memory and breath, and the time we feel is the time that matters. Still, relativity leaves us with a gift. It reminds us that every moment is shaped not just by where you are, but how you move, how you fall, how you love. That no moment is the same for everyone. That your story of time is unique. It belongs to you. And though we share years and calendars, no two people live time in exactly the same way. Even the Earth feels time differently than the stars. At the center of our galaxy, a supermassive black hole rests, bending time into near stillness. Around it, stars whirl in tight circles, trapped in a slower rhythm. And further out, planets like ours spin gently in a calmer current. We orbit, we age, we remember. But everything we do is tied to the invisible dance of time and gravity. Without it, the moon would not know when to rise. Flowers would not know when to bloom. You would not know when to sleep or when to dream. So the next time you sit in silence, waiting for something to begin or to end, know that time is not idle. It is listening. It is shaping your thoughts, holding your breath, letting the moment stretch. Maybe it moves slower for you today, maybe faster tomorrow, but it always moves with you, not ahead of you. And that means you don't have to rush. There is no race, no clock that rules your heart. You can move gently. You can pause. You can listen to the rhythm that lives inside your chest and trust that it, too, understands the softness of time. In the end, relativity is not just about space and stars. It's about understanding that nothing is truly fixed, not time, not gravity, not even truth. Everything moves, everything changes, and in that movement there is peace. Let the final thought rest here, that every second you've lived still exists, that your laughter echoes in the folds of spacetime, that your kindness leaves a mark not just on hearts but on the shape of time itself. You are part of the fabric. You are not outside of it. You are not just passing through. You are woven in. So sleep gently beneath this truth. Let it hold you like gravity holds a planet, like time holds a memory. There is no need to hold on tighter. The universe already remembers everything you are. Before the world had names for things, before science gave words to what was hidden, people still wondered. They picked up stones, broke them, crushed them into dust, and wondered, was there something smaller still? Could matter, solid and still in the hand, be split again and again until it disappeared? Long before the microscope, before chemistry, before physics as we know it, a quiet idea drifted through the minds of thinkers. What if everything was made of tiny, invisible pieces? Tiny nothings packed together to make something whole. The ancient Greeks called them atoms, not because they had proof, but because the world felt like it needed a building block, something final, something indivisible, but they had no way to see it. No tools, no evidence, only faith in an idea too small to grasp. For centuries, atoms lived only in philosophy. A whisper passed from one generation to the next, but time, like a patient sculptor, revealed more. In the 1800s, a schoolteacher named John Dalton looked at gases and saw a pattern. He imagined each gas as a kind of invisible ball with its own size and weight. His theory wasn't flashy. It didn't explode across headlines. It was quiet, like the atoms he studied, but it reshaped everything. If atoms were real, then all matter, all life, could be explained not as a mystery but as a pattern. Then came more minds, careful hands, thoughtful eyes. They studied elements, the simplest forms of matter, and noticed how they behaved like puzzle pieces. Some fit together, some repelled, some combined to form new things. Water, for example, wasn't just water. It was hydrogen and oxygen, two gases that, when joined, became liquid. It was like finding out that music is made of notes, that color is made of light, that the world is made of whispers. But even atoms, once thought to be the smallest, had secrets inside. As tools improved and experiments grew bolder, scientists began to suspect that atoms were not solid balls. They were something stranger. In 1897, a man named J.J. Thomson discovered the electron, a tiny speck with a negative charge. He imagined atoms as spheres filled with positive material, sprinkled with electrons like raisins in pudding. It was a start. But the atom still wasn't done speaking. A few years later, Ernest Rutherford designed an experiment that would change everything. He aimed tiny particles at a sheet of gold foil, expecting them to pass straight through. Most did, but some bounced back as if they had hit something small and hard inside the atom. Rutherford realized that atoms must have a dense center, a nucleus. Suddenly, the atom had shape, a tiny core surrounded by space. Most of the atom, it turned out, was emptiness. What we think of as solid, wood, metal, bone, is mostly nothing. And inside that nucleus, more whispers, protons heavy and positive, neutrons neutral and strong. They crowded together in the center while the electrons danced around them like fireflies. The atom, once imagined as indivisible, had become a galaxy of its own. Tiny, spinning, full of energy and balance. A world within a world. But these discoveries didn't make the atom less beautiful. They made it more mysterious. Because the more we learned, the stranger things became. Electrons didn't orbit like planets. They moved in clouds, in waves, in probabilities. They could be in two places at once. They could disappear and reappear, not because they were playing tricks, but because nature itself didn't behave the way we thought it should. The atom, once quiet, now whispered wild truths. That particles could act like waves. That matter could become energy. That even the tiniest pieces of the universe followed rules more like music than math. And so the field of quantum mechanics was born. A science of uncertainty, a study of the invisible dance. It was not comforting at first. It made no promises. It offered no clear pictures. Instead, it gave equations and questions, experiments and echoes. But even in its strangeness, it carried wonder. Because inside the atom we found not just structure but possibility. Think of it this way: everything you see, everything you touch is made of atoms, and every atom is mostly space. That means you are not solid, not in the way you think. You are a collection of tiny particles held together by invisible forces humming with energy. The chair you sit in, the air you breathe, the stars in the sky, all of it is the same, atoms arranged in different patterns, like letters forming words, like notes forming a song. And these atoms are old. The hydrogen in your body was formed just after the Big Bang. The calcium in your bones came from dying stars. The iron in your blood was forged in the heat of a supernova. You are not just made of matter. You are made of history. You carry the memory of the universe inside you. So the next time you hold a rock or sip water or touch a leaf, remember what it's made of. Not just molecules, not just atoms, but tiny stories, tiny pieces of something greater, pieces that once drifted through space, pieces that now rest quietly in your hand. This is the beauty of the atom, that something so small can hold so much. that the quietest thing in the universe can speak the loudest truths, and that even in our smallest parts we are connected to each other, to the stars, to time itself. Let's drift deeper now into the soft pulse that lives inside every bit of matter. We've opened the atom and seen its swirling parts, protons, neutrons, electrons, each dancing in quiet motion. But the story doesn't end there. Like a lullaby that hums beneath the surface, the atom keeps whispering secrets, waiting for gentle minds to listen. Because inside those smaller parts there are even smaller pieces. And each one behaves not like a marble or a speck, but like a song, something that hums, changes, and vanishes without warning. In the heart of every proton and neutron lie quarks, tiny, flickering fragments that can never exist alone. They are held together by an invisible glue, a force so strong it has no equal in the everyday world. Scientists call it the strong nuclear force, and it does something extraordinary. It binds the core of the atom so tightly that breaking it releases a storm of energy. That is the principle behind nuclear reactions, both in destructive bombs and in peaceful stars. It's hard to imagine such immense power hiding in something so small, but that's the truth of the atom. Stillness on the outside, fire within. Now think of the electron again, that tiny negative companion that dances around the atom's core. Unlike planets in orbit, electrons don't move in clean circles. They flicker in probability clouds, hovering in regions where they're most likely to be. They don't spin like tops. They don't rest like marbles. They exist as possibilities. At any given moment, they might be here or not. Their position isn't certain until we look. This is the strange world of quantum mechanics, where measurement shapes reality, and certainty is always a question. It might sound confusing, even unsettling, but there's comfort in it too. The idea that the universe is not fixed but flexible, that particles aren't just pieces of stuff but waves of potential. The atom is not a thing, it's a happening. It's an unfolding. It's a dance that never stops. And this dance is what lets matter form bonds. Atoms join together to become molecules, and molecules join to become life. When two hydrogen atoms meet an oxygen, they form water not through force but through the sharing of electrons. This gentle interaction, called a covalent bond, is the basis of chemistry. It's how trees grow, how bread rises, how your breath carries oxygen through your blood. It's not loud. It's not violent. It's a quiet joining of things that want to be close. Even your thoughts, your memories, your emotions, they all begin in atoms, in neurons that send signals through waves of sodium and potassium, in synapses that pass whispers of molecules across gaps so small they make atoms look large. Your brain is not just made of matter. It is made of motion. The calm flicker of atoms passing messages, forming networks, shaping dreams. And through all of this, energy is always moving. It shifts forms but never disappears. This is one of the universe's oldest promises. Energy cannot be destroyed. When an atom is split, the energy stored in its bonds is released. This is how nuclear power works. But when an atom joins with another, energy is also exchanged, sometimes given, sometimes absorbed. Even your body lives by this law. Every bite of food you eat becomes fuel, not because of magic, but because of atoms rearranging themselves in quiet transformations. But let's not forget the stars, because the atom's greatest poetry lives in the sky. In the heart of every star, hydrogen atoms are squeezed together by gravity until they fuse, becoming helium and releasing bursts of light and heat. This process, called nuclear fusion, is what powers the sun. It's what makes the morning warm. It's what lights your face as you stand beneath the open sky. Without the fusion of atoms, there would be no sunlight, no life, no color, just cold silence. Over time, stars use up their hydrogen and begin fusing heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, iron. And when they've given all they can, some explode in supernovas, sending their atoms across the galaxy. These scattered bits become new stars, new planets, new people. The gold in your ring, the calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, they were all born in stars. You are, in the most literal way, stardust held together by gravity and time. So when you reach out to touch something, a leaf, a stone, a hand, you are meeting atoms shaped by ancient light. You are not separate from the world. You are made of its same whispers, and every object you touch is buzzing with the same quiet motion. Electrons in clouds, protons in clusters, neutrons balancing the core. They move in patterns older than history, and still they dance. The more we learn, the more wonder we find. Scientists have even created particle accelerators, huge tunnels that smash atoms together at near-light speed just to watch what happens. These experiments have revealed particles like the Higgs boson, which helps explain why things have mass. Without mass, atoms wouldn't hold together. Without mass, there would be no stars, no planets, no people. These tiny truths live in the smallest corners of matter, and they shape the entire universe. And yet, despite all this complexity, the atom remains gentle. It doesn't demand to be seen. It doesn't shout. It simply is moving, forming, releasing, joining. It asks nothing from us but curiosity. And in return, it offers everything: warmth, light, thought, touch, life. So next time you hold something simple, a pebble, a feather, a cup of tea, pause, close your eyes, feel the weight of what you carry. And remember that within it there are millions of atoms, each one humming softly, each one part of a story that began before the earth cooled, before the stars were born, a story that continues in you, in your breath, in your bones. The atom never stops whispering. All we have to do is listen. Now let us follow the softest thread to the final resting place of this journey, into the quiet, constant pulse of matter itself. For all its complexity, the atom remains a gentle truth, humming beneath the surface of every object, every cell, every thought. It is not loud, it does not glow, but it holds everything. And as we draw near the end of this story, we can begin to see that the atom is not just a piece of the world, it is the shape of the world's memory. Imagine again the space inside an atom. Though it feels solid in your hand, almost everything you touch is made of emptiness. The electrons float far from the nucleus, like stars orbiting a sun, and the core itself is small beyond imagining. If you were to scale up a nucleus to the size of a marble, the atom around it would stretch over a football field. This space is not a flaw, it is part of the design. It allows light to pass, energy to move, heat to travel. Without emptiness, nothing could breathe. And yet it is in this emptiness that bonds are born. Atoms do not live alone. They reach for each other, drawn by forces we do not feel but depend upon. The electromagnetic force brings electrons close, while the strong nuclear force binds the nucleus tight. And still, these atoms are not fixed. They vibrate, they shift. Even in solids, atoms sway gently in place like trees in a breeze too soft to feel. This motion is not random, it is warmth. When you feel heat, you are feeling atoms move. When something cools, those movements slow. Cold is not emptiness, it is quiet. And when atoms are pushed to their limits, they transform. Think of radioactive decay, the slow unraveling of unstable atoms. These atoms, too heavy or unbalanced, begin to shed pieces of themselves. An electron here, a neutron there, until they become something new. This process powers the Earth's core. It warms deep caves and fuels ancient reactions. It is also what makes radiocarbon dating possible, letting scientists read the age of bones, wood, and even ashes. In this way, atoms are not just matter, they are clocks. They measure time not in minutes but in decay, in the soft falling away of their own pieces. And what of antimatter, the strange mirror of our own atomic world? For every particle, electron, proton, neutron, there exists an opposite, a twin with the same mass but reverse charge. When matter and antimatter meet, they vanish, releasing energy in a sudden flare. This isn't destruction. It's transformation, pure mass turned into pure energy. Somewhere in the early universe, a balance was broken. A tiny extra sliver of matter remained, and that sliver became everything. Stars, planets, oceans, breath. All of it, the leftover miracle from a time when everything was supposed to cancel out. Atoms do not ask to be remembered, but they hold memory all the same. In every strand of DNA, in every flake of ash, in every whisper of dust, they store the story of what has been. Scientists have learned to read these patterns, to trace the atoms in your body back to the food you ate, the air you breathed, the soil that fed the plants that fed your ancestors. Every one of us is made not just of stardust, but of shared dust, passed from creature to creature, tree to tree, sea to sea. We are not separate, we are recycling one long breath. And there is a final kindness in this, that atoms are not afraid to change. They come together, they fall apart, they recombine. The carbon in your bones may one day be part of a tree. The oxygen you breathe may have once filled the lungs of a bird. The iron in your blood may have belonged to a mountain. There is no ending here, only quiet exchange. So when you feel small, remember this. You are made of the same pieces that built the stars. The same atoms that drifted through ancient space now sing in your body. They carry the weight of time, the glow of fusion, the patience of slow decay. They carry silence too, but not emptiness. A silence full of potential, of change, of softness. And when you feel still, know that you are never truly still. Your atoms hum, your cells flicker, your breath warms the air. You are a quiet motion in a web of other quiet motions. You are a gentle ripple in a pond that has no edge. The study of atoms will go on. New particles will be found. New forces might be named. But the core truth remains gentle and unshaken. Matter is not hard. It is not cruel. It is not loud. It is soft and old and filled with possibility. It is the slow heartbeat beneath reality. So rest now in that knowing. Let your body feel the miracle of its own shape. Let your breath remember the atoms it carries. Let your thoughts drift like electrons in their cloud, not fixed, not certain, but full of meaning. The atom whispers and always has. It whispered before you were born, and it will whisper long after. You do not need to hear every word to be part of its story. You already are. The brain does not shout. It does not flicker like fire or churn like oceans. It rests quietly, soft and gray, folded like a sleeping thought. And yet within that silence it hums with constant motion. It does not sleep even when you do. It sends messages, remembers stories, shapes feelings. It sees even in darkness. It listens even in stillness. It is not a single voice but a choir of cells, each one whispering across tiny gaps. And at the heart of all this, of memory, thought, breath, and dream, are neurons, the gentle wires of the mind. A neuron is not a thing of beauty at first glance. It looks like a spindly tree with long, reaching branches and a trunk that stretches farther than you'd expect. But its form is perfect for its purpose. At one end it receives, at the other it sends, and between those two ends the world is changed. Each neuron speaks with electricity, tiny sparks moving down its body. These sparks are not like lightning. They are softer, more careful. They are signals, not flashes. Carried by ions, tiny particles moving across a membrane, they move in pulses, not waves, like a heartbeat, like breath. When a neuron fires, it doesn't shout into the void. It reaches out to another neuron across a tiny space called a synapse. This space is smaller than a breath, smaller than a grain of dust. And in that space, the message changes. It becomes chemical. Molecules called neurotransmitters float across the gap, carrying information like a letter passed from hand to hand. The second neuron reads it, responds, and passes it on. And this happens again and again and again, billions of times every second, without rest, without error, without noise. This is how you know the world, how you remember a song, how you smile when someone says your name. It is not magic, it is biology, but it feels like magic because it is so soft, so invisible. You cannot see your neurons working, but they never stop. They are there when you speak, when you blink, when you cry, when you sleep. They are there when you imagine, when you worry, when you laugh. Every thought you've ever had is a pattern of firing neurons, moving gently from one cell to the next. And these patterns, these maps of fire and whisper, become habits. The more you think a thought, the easier it becomes to think again. This is called plasticity. It is the brain's way of learning, of growing, of healing. If one path is damaged, another can take its place. Neurons do not give up easily. They seek new connections. They rebuild. They rewire. And in this quiet effort, you become who you are. From the moment you are born, your neurons begin reaching. They stretch out like fingers in the dark, searching for others to hold. In early life, they form connections rapidly, millions each day. Some are strong, some fade. but together they create the architecture of the mind. Not a building, not a machine, but a forest, a vast living web of thoughts and feelings, dreams and fears. The brain is not just a place of logic, it is a place of emotion. Neurons pass through the amygdala where fear and love are born. They pass through the hippocampus where memory is stitched together moment by moment. They pass through the prefrontal cortex where choice and consequence are weighed. And all of this happens quietly beneath your awareness, while you brush your teeth, while you walk to the window, while you hold someone's hand. And yet the brain does not act alone. It listens to the body. Neurons stretch down the spine, reaching into every organ, every limb. They guide your movements, your balance, your hunger, your breath. They let you feel the world, warmth, pressure, pain, softness. And they bring that information back again, carrying it to the brain where it is understood, remembered, felt. There are even neurons in the gut, a second brain, some say, quietly helping you digest food, sense discomfort, feel intuition. This is not a metaphor. It is science. The gut speaks to the brain and the brain listens. There is conversation in your very center, one you never hear but always benefit from. All of this is built on electricity and chemistry, on ions and molecules, on spaces smaller than sight. But it creates something more. It creates you, your thoughts, your feelings, yourself. And this perhaps is the quietest wonder of all, that something so physical, so soft and slow can produce something so rich, so invisible, so deeply human. So pause for a moment, sit in stillness, and know that even now your neurons are speaking. They are lighting paths, sending signals, remembering who you are. They are the messengers of your mind, the builders of your memory, the reason your story continues. You do not need to feel them to thank them. You do not need to understand them fully to marvel at what they've built. The mind is not a mirror. It is not a reflection. It is not a copy of the world. It is a storyteller shaped by neurons who have learned to speak, and through their whispers you become real. Let us drift further now through the still corridors of the mind, where silence is not the absence of sound but the presence of invisible conversation. In this quiet forest of neurons, messages pass in both whispers and bursts, shaping every moment of your experience. You do not command it, you do not even notice it, but it never stops. The brain, even in rest, never truly rests. It dreams, it repairs, it replays. It prepares for tomorrow while gently holding the shadows of yesterday. Among the neurons, there are patterns, quiet waves of activity that move through different parts of the brain like tides. Some waves are fast and sharp, carrying quick thoughts and urgent reactions. Others are slow and wide, flowing like deep water through sleep and memory. These brain waves form a symphony of frequencies. When you are calm, the waves stretch and slow like the hush before dawn. When you are focused, they tighten, alert and bright. Each mood, each state of mind has its rhythm, played by thousands of neurons at once. And inside this rhythm is something precious, consciousness, not just being awake but being aware of yourself, of your thoughts, of your own existence. No one fully understands how consciousness emerges from the brain's soft machinery. It is one of science's most gentle mysteries. We know that certain patterns of neural activity are linked to awareness. But why does it feel like something to be you? Why does electricity flowing through tissue create a sense of self? Some believe the brain is like a mirror, not of the world, but of itself. It reflects, it models, it builds a picture not just of what's outside, but of what's inside too. You do not just see the tree, you see yourself seeing the tree. And in that double vision, self-awareness begins. It's a fragile thing, easily changed by injury, illness, sleep, or time, but it's also resilient. Your brain can lose parts of itself and still remember how to be you. New pathways form, new thoughts take root. This plasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself, is not just for children. It continues all your life. Every time you learn something, every time you feel something deeply, your brain rewires just a little. Neurons reach out, strengthen connections, prune old ones. This is not dramatic, it is not fast, but it is real. And it is why healing is possible, why growth never stops, why change, though difficult, is always within reach. And then there is memory, the soft architecture of the past. It is not stored in a single place. Memories live across the brain, stitched together from sensations, emotions, images, and meaning. To remember a single moment is to light up a constellation of neurons across time, and memories are not fixed. They are rewritten each time you recall them, shaped gently by the present. The brain does not store a perfect past. It tells a story over and over until the story becomes part of who you are. And still, beneath the mind's reflections, the body listens. Neurons communicate with hormones, tiny chemical messengers released into the blood. These hormones shape mood, hunger, alertness, even trust. Oxytocin, the so-called love hormone, helps us bond and care. Cortisol, the stress hormone, sharpens focus in danger. Dopamine offers reward and motivation. Serotonin steadies emotion. These are not just chemicals. They are part of the brain's language, a language that speaks in feelings rather than words. Sometimes this system struggles, the balance tips, signals falter, and what once felt clear becomes clouded. Depression, anxiety, trauma, these are not weaknesses. They are shifts in the brain's rhythm, cries for help from neurons trying to adjust, and the brain, kind and determined, keeps searching for balance. Therapy, medicine, connection, these are tools we use to help it find its way again. But the brain does not work alone. It listens to touch, sound, light, movement. It thrives on interaction. Studies show that social connection protects the brain, keeps it young, curious, flexible. When we speak, when we laugh, when we share silence with someone, our neurons fire in harmony. It is as if our brains are reaching out to each other, syncing in a dance of recognition. We were never meant to think alone. Even in solitude, the brain seeks company. It dreams. Dreams are the brain's night whispers, stories told without rules. They borrow pieces of memory, emotion, imagination, and blend them into scenes that make no sense but somehow feel true. We don't know why we dream, but we know it helps. Dreaming clears the mental desk, files the memories, eases emotion. It is part of how the mind heals. And through it all, the brain remains mostly mysterious. We can scan it, map it, measure it, but we cannot yet explain it fully. And maybe that's the most poetic truth of all, that the brain, the thing that seeks understanding, cannot completely understand itself. Like an eye that cannot see itself without a mirror. Like a flame trying to feel its own warmth. Still it tries. Still you try. Every question you ask, every new thing you learn reshapes your neurons just a little. Your brain is not just a mirror of your life. It is a record of your curiosity, your love, your pain, your wonder. It holds the storm and the stillness. It listens to your world and then makes a world inside. So rest in the softness of this truth. You are not just a body with a brain. You are a being shaped by countless gentle signals echoing through space smaller than a shadow. You are the memory of 1,000 days held quietly in the folds of your mind. And even now, in this quiet moment, your neurons are speaking. Not loudly, not urgently, just enough to remind you you are here. You are thinking. You are alive. Let us now follow the final curve of this story, through the last gentle signals of thought, as we arrive at the heart of what the mind has quietly built. We've listened to the neurons, how they speak, how they change, how they form everything you are. But beneath all of that, beneath the waves and wires and chemicals, is something even more delicate: meaning. Not just logic, not just memory, but meaning, the shape you give to the world inside you. The brain is not a machine. It does not process only numbers, it processes wonder. It takes sound and turns it into music. It takes a glance and turns it into love. It takes light and makes color, makes stories, makes silence feel full. And it does all this not through magic, but through pattern, through the way neurons form and reform their quiet networks. You do not just hear music, you feel it. You do not just see a sunset, you carry it with you. This is the power of perception. The mind's ability not only to detect but to interpret, to attach feeling to fact, to link beauty to detail. But perception is not the same for everyone. Each brain is wired a little differently. What brings joy to one person may bring confusion to another. What soothes you may unsettle someone else. The way your neurons light up when you see a familiar face, or smell an old scent, or hear a certain song, that pattern is yours alone. It was built by your life, shaped by your memories, softened by your emotions. No two people ever see the world the same way because no two minds have ever grown the same way. And yet there is still connection, still shared laughter, shared sorrow, shared silence. Somehow, through all these differences, the mind finds ways to meet others. Neurons mirror each other. When you see someone smile, your brain activates the same patterns it would if you were smiling. These are called mirror neurons, and they are the roots of empathy. They let us feel others, not just understand them. They let us cry with someone else's pain. They let us celebrate joy that is not our own. In this way, the brain is not only personal, it is social. It reaches out, again and again, across space and silence. And as we grow, the mind continues to evolve. In childhood, neurons are plentiful, reaching in every direction. In adolescence, they begin to prune themselves, trimming excess, shaping efficiency. In adulthood, they deepen, they settle. They form long pathways that carry the weight of identity. And in older age, they begin to shift again. Some memories soften, some thoughts slow, but new learning still happens. New connections still form. The brain, though aging, remains alive. Like a forest in autumn, still rich with life, even as the light begins to change. Even after injury, the brain fights to adapt. After trauma, it seeks safety. After loss, it seeks comfort. After confusion, it seeks clarity. It does not always succeed, but it does not stop trying. And in this effort, there is something noble, something deeply human. We are not just minds. We are minds that endure. And even in the end, even as the mind begins to dim, even as memory fades, there are still moments. A familiar face, a song from childhood, the scent of rain. These can spark the brain like candles in a dark room, because somewhere in the quietest parts of the mind something remains, a core of recognition, a spark of presence, a whisper that says, "I am still here." Science continues to explore these mysteries. We map the brain in finer and finer detail. We build artificial intelligence in its image. But even now, with all we've discovered, the mind remains one of the softest puzzles in the universe. It cannot be reduced to a single theory. It cannot be captured in a diagram, because it is not just a tool, it is the place where your entire world lives. You do not carry your thoughts, they carry you. They shape how you see the world, how you remember the past, how you imagine the future. And they are not fixed. They shift with each breath. Each moment you live reshapes the pathways that define you. Your neurons are writing your story, one signal at a time. So sit quietly for a moment, close your eyes, breathe in. Somewhere behind your eyes, 1,000 neurons just fired. Somewhere deeper still, memories stirred, emotions moved, thoughts aligned. You did nothing to make this happen, and yet it happened because you are alive, because your brain, your beautiful, gentle brain, is always listening, always learning, always trying to reflect not just the world, but you. The brain does not shine like the stars, but it holds the stars within it. Every time you wonder, every time you feel awe, you are lighting up parts of your mind that once only dreamed of fire. Every time you remember someone with love, or offer kindness, or imagine something that doesn't exist yet, you are proving that thought can be as powerful as gravity, as patient as time, as vast as space. And that is the softest truth of all, that your neurons, these tiny cells floating in the quiet dark, have made something larger than themselves. They have made you, and you, in turn, are making meaning from light, from sound, from the world outside, from the world within. You are not the thoughts you have. You are the place where they happen. You are the mirror where the mind sees itself. And in that reflection, something eternal lingers, not in science, not in words, but in presence. Let that presence be enough. Let it be still. Let it be quiet. And let it remind you, the mind does not need to understand everything. It only needs to listen. There is something pulling at you right now. You can't see it. You can't touch it, but it holds you close. It keeps your feet on the ground, your cup on the table, the oceans in their place. It tugs at every hair, every stone, every moon, every star. It moves slowly, without noise, without light, and yet it shapes everything. This soft force, invisible and constant, is gravity. It does not push. It does not break. It only draws in, quietly, gently, always. Long ago, no one knew what it was. They knew that apples fell, that rain dropped from clouds, that rivers flowed downhill. But they did not know why. To them it was just the way things were. The earth pulled things down and the sky let them fall. It was nature, not a question. Then came a man named Isaac Newton. He watched an apple fall and dared to wonder, not just what but why. And from that wonder a truth began to form, that the same force pulling apples from trees also pulled the moon around the earth. That falling and orbiting were not different things, but one quiet motion, repeated in many ways. Newton gave gravity a name, a shape, a formula. He showed that every object in the universe pulls on every other. The more massive something is, the stronger its pull. The closer you are, the more you feel it. Gravity, then, is not just a force from the earth. It is a relationship between all things, between you and the floor, between the ocean and the moon, between the sun and the planets, between stars and galaxies. It stretches across space like a web made of silence. But Newton's gravity was only part of the picture. It worked well enough to predict orbits and tides, to launch rockets and explain falling. But in time, something didn't quite fit. The motion of Mercury, the bending of starlight, the strange behavior of time, all pointed to something more. And so in the early 20th century, another quiet thinker stepped forward. Albert Einstein. He saw the world differently. To him, gravity wasn't just a pull, it was a curve. Einstein imagined space and time not as separate things but as one soft fabric, spacetime. And every object with mass bent that fabric. The bigger the object, the deeper the bend. The Earth, the Sun, even you, everything leaves a slight indentation in spacetime. And when something else passes nearby, it follows that curve. The moon orbits the Earth not because it is pulled, but because it rolls gently along the dip our planet makes in space. This was a new idea, a gentler idea. Gravity wasn't reaching out and grabbing. It was simply letting things fall along the shape of space. And though the idea was strange, the universe agreed. In 1919, during a solar eclipse, scientists observed stars appearing in the wrong place. Their light had bent as it passed near the sun, exactly as Einstein predicted. Space had curved. Light had listened. And gravity, it seemed, was not a force in the usual sense. It was geometry, a slope, a softness. This discovery changed everything. It meant that gravity could slow time. That clocks ticked faster high in the mountains and slower at sea level. That near massive objects, like black holes, time could nearly stop. And it also meant that gravity could ripple. That when two massive things collide, two black holes, for example, they create waves in spacetime itself. These are gravitational waves, and they move through the universe like the sound of something too deep to hear. We only detected them for the first time in 2015, but they had been there all along. Imagine that you are floating in a universe where the very shape of space ripples when stars dance too close, that your body is pulled not by threads or hooks, but by curves in something you cannot see, that every step you take is shaped not just by the ground beneath you, but by the quiet swell of the planet's presence. Even the tides are pulled this way. The moon tugs gently at the oceans, drawing them into slow, graceful bulges, and the earth pulls back, holding them close. This push and pull, this balancing act, shapes the rhythm of our coasts. It lets shellfish know when to feed, lets fishermen know when to sail. It shapes the migrations of whales, the songs of water birds, the patterns of sand. And yet no one sees the string. No one feels the weight. They only see the movement. The tide arrives. The tide recedes. And gravity smiles unseen. We feel its weight most in childhood, when we fall for the first time and learn that the world has rules. But as we grow, we stop noticing it. We walk without thinking. We place things on shelves. We build towers and bridges, not remembering that every brick must answer to gravity's quiet authority. We only remember when we jump, when we fall, when we drop something and it shatters. Then gravity returns to our attention, not as a force but as a truth. And still, we don't feel its pull from the sun, or from the galaxy, but it's there. The Earth moves around the sun not because it is held by ropes, but because space is curved. The sun's mass bends spacetime, and the Earth moves along that curve. We are falling through space always, but in a perfect circle. The same is true for the Milky Way as it spins gently in the gravity of its own stars. We are falling together, all of us, held not by arms but by the shape of everything around us. Even black holes, the densest things in the universe, are just places where spacetime curves so steeply that nothing can climb out. Not light, not time, not sound. They are not holes at all. They are shadows of gravity, silent, invisible, and patient. And yet the most tender truth is this: gravity is weak. Among the forces of the universe, it is the quietest, the most humble. A small magnet can lift a paperclip against the pull of the entire Earth. Gravity never forces. It only invites. And still, it shapes the largest things we know. So rest for a moment. Feel the weight of your body. Not heavy, but real. That feeling is gravity. It is your relationship with the Earth. It is not pressing you down. It is holding you close, like a soft hand, like a lullaby, like something that has always been with you and always will be. You do not fall alone. You fall with the Earth. You move with the stars. And gravity, quiet, unseen, is the reason you stay. Let's continue drifting now, deeper into the calm current of gravity's story, a force so soft it goes unnoticed, and yet so vast it binds galaxies. We often think of gravity as something heavy, something that pulls down, but it also holds up. It holds us together. Without it, the universe would not be shaped. Stars would not burn, planets would not form, life would not have a place to rest. Gravity is not simply a law, it is a quiet keeper of form. Imagine dust floating in space. At first, each grain moves alone, drifting slowly in the blackness. But even these tiny particles have mass, and mass means gravity. So over time, they begin to pull on each other. Slowly, gently, they gather, they bump, they stick, they swirl. What begins as dust becomes clumps. What becomes clumps becomes rocks. What becomes rocks becomes planets. Gravity, patient and tireless, does not rush. It waits. And in its waiting, it builds worlds. This is how Earth was born, not in fire but in quiet gathering, a swirl of particles drawn together by gravity's embrace. With time, the mass grew, the heat rose, and the shape formed. Gravity pulled everything inward until it held itself together. It still does. Every mountain, every drop of water, every breath you take is held in place by Earth's invisible hands. And gravity's reach does not end there. Above us, the moon orbits because Earth tugs at it, but the moon tugs back too. The result is a dance, circular and soft, predictable but never boring. And this dance causes tides. The ocean rises and falls not because of the moon alone, but because of gravity's gentle invitation. It leans and the water answers. Twice a day, this rhythm plays out along every shore. Quiet, powerful, eternal. Look further out and you'll see the same pattern. The planets orbit the sun not in perfect circles but in soft ellipses, shaped by the sun's mass and gravity's pull. Mercury rushes fast, close to the sun. Neptune drifts far, slow and steady. Each planet, no matter its size or distance, is held in orbit not by strings, not by will, but by the shape of space. Gravity keeps them moving in silence. It does not command, it persuades. And further still, out past our solar system, past comets and dust, entire galaxies spiral in massive waves. Billions of stars, billions of worlds, all held together by gravity's web. No one directs them. No one guides them. Gravity alone keeps them from drifting apart. And yet, even with all this order, something strange remains. The galaxies spin too fast. The math doesn't match. There should not be enough mass to hold them together. So scientists began to wonder, what else is there? What holds the stars so tightly? What gives the universe its hidden weight? The answer may be dark matter, something we cannot see, cannot touch, and yet something that must be there. It bends light, it adds gravity, it fills space without revealing itself, like a whisper behind a closed door. Gravity hears it, even if we do not, and so we listen harder. This quiet mystery teaches us something important. That gravity, as simple as it seems, may still hide secrets. Even now, we do not fully understand how it works on the smallest scale. Gravity is well behaved among planets and stars, but in the quantum world, in the world of atoms and particles, it becomes uncertain. We have no equation that joins gravity with the other forces. Not yet. It remains separate, as if waiting for us to slow down and listen more carefully. But perhaps that is gravity's way. It is not rushed, It is not loud. It allows discovery, but only through patience. It gives hints, not answers. A planet here, a ripple there, a missing mass in the dark. And slowly, gently, we uncover its shape. Back here on Earth, gravity remains the most ordinary and the most extraordinary part of our lives. You feel it when you lift a child, when you drop a spoon, when you climb a hill and your legs grow tired. But you also feel it in your balance, in your blood. Gravity pulls fluids in your body downward and your heart must work against it. Your ears help you stand upright because they sense the direction of that pull. Even when you close your eyes, you know which way is down. Gravity teaches you. It has always been your quiet teacher. Astronauts learn this the hard way. In space, gravity loosens its grip. Muscles weaken, bones lose strength, water floats. The body forgets how to hold itself together. When they return, they must relearn balance. They must feel the Earth's pull again. It is like coming home to a memory you didn't know you lost. And they speak of it with reverence. Not as a burden, but as a comfort. Gravity, they realize, is part of what makes us human. It even shapes time, not just through clocks but through the way we age. A clock on the floor ticks slower than one on a shelf. The difference is tiny but real. Gravity slows time because it curves space. The deeper the curve, the slower the seconds pass. Near a black hole, time stretches like soft dough. What might feel like a minute to someone nearby could feel like centuries elsewhere. And yet time continues. Gravity does not stop it. It simply changes its pace. Even now, as you sit still, you are in motion. You are spinning with the Earth. You are orbiting the sun. You are circling the galaxy, all without effort. All because gravity cradles you in its quiet palm. You are never truly still because gravity never lets go. So let yourself rest in that truth. Let yourself feel the softness of being held. Gravity does not control you. It embraces you. It keeps you steady when the world moves. It keeps your coffee in the cup, your breath in your lungs, your feet on the ground. It is not just a force. It is a companion, always there, always listening. And if it is quiet, it is only because it has nothing to prove. Now let us follow gravity to its softest ending, where falling becomes floating and motion becomes memory. By now, you've felt its pull through stars and skin, oceans and clocks. You've seen how it cradles planets and bends light, how it guides the steps of galaxies and shapes the rhythm of your breath. And yet, for all its might, gravity never announces itself. It simply continues, steady, patient, ancient. There is something poetic in the idea that the weakest force in nature is the one that holds us most faithfully. Gravity is less than a whisper beside the strong nuclear force, weaker still than electromagnetism. And yet it cannot be escaped. Not truly. You can float for a moment. You can leap. You can orbit, but you cannot undo the curve of space itself. Even in freefall, you are still in gravity's embrace, just no longer resisting. Imagine an astronaut orbiting the Earth. To the eye, they seem to float weightless and calm, but they are not beyond gravity. They are inside it, falling around the Earth in a perfect curve. Their body moves forward fast enough that as the ground falls away, they fall with it. This is orbit. This is balance. This is the beauty of surrendering to gravity rather than fighting it. Even black holes, those silent wells of collapsed stars, are not monsters. They are places where gravity has become complete. So complete that even light, the fastest traveler in the universe, cannot climb back out. But black holes are not just endings. They are reminders of how much gravity can do. They warp space so deeply that time nearly halts. And around them, strange things happen. Stars dance. Light spirals. Entire galaxies are shaped by their invisible pull. And still, they make no sound. In recent years, we've begun to hear them not directly but through the waves they leave behind. Gravitational waves ripple outward when two black holes collide. They stretch and compress space itself. We built delicate instruments to catch these waves, and for the first time in 2015 we did. A wave passed through Earth. It was smaller than an atom's width, but it moved everything. The detectors vibrated. Space had spoken. Gravity had whispered. This was not a loud discovery. There were no fireworks, only a shift, a confirmation that gravity, as gentle as it seems, carries messages from the deepest parts of the universe, from places we cannot see, from moments long gone. These waves travel through space like echoes in a vast cathedral. They are the memory of motion, of mass, of change. Gravity is not just a pull, it is a record. And we too are part of that record. Every step you take presses into the earth. Every heartbeat is shaped by weight. Your muscles grow strong because they resist gravity. Your bones are sculpted by its force. And when you lie down, you surrender to it. Gravity welcomes you without judgment. It says, rest, stay, you belong here. Even in grief, we speak its language. I feel heavy, we say. The weight of this is too much. And maybe that is not just metaphor. Maybe gravity speaks to the soul as well as the skin. When joy lifts us, we feel light. When sorrow settles, we feel pulled down. These are not just feelings. They are reflections of how deeply gravity lives inside us, not just as a law but as a presence. In many cultures, gravity appears in the language of love, to be grounded, to be drawn to someone, to fall. These are not accidents of speech. They are quiet truths. We do not rise toward love, we fall into it. We do not resist connection, we surrender to it. And gravity, always watching, always steady, mirrors that surrender. Perhaps that is why we dream of flying, not to escape gravity but to understand it. To feel its limits, to test its reach, to float just long enough to appreciate how it holds us. Birds rise because they push against it. Planes fly because they borrow lift from speed. But even they must return. Everything returns. Gravity waits without urgency, without demand. And in the end, it is what gathers us, not just in life but after. The dust of our bodies falls gently back to the earth. The atoms that once walked, laughed, wept, become soil, become stone, become air. This is not an end. It is a continuation. Gravity does not erase, it collects, it holds. It keeps the memory of form even as form fades. So now, as this story settles, take a breath. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the chair, the floor, the earth, all of it holding you, not pushing, not pulling, just cradling, quietly, as it always has. You are not just sitting, you are resting in the curve of space itself. You are falling, always falling, toward the sun, around the galaxy, through time, but you are not falling alone. You are part of a motion so gentle, so ancient, that even silence remembers it. This is gravity's gift. Not control, not weight, but connection, to ground, to sky, to everything. Let that connection be enough. Let it remind you that even in stillness, you are moving, that even in heaviness there is grace, and that even the quietest forces can shape the entire universe. You do not need to hold the world. The world is already holding you. Before there was light, before there were stars or planets or names, there was vibration. Not sound as we know it, not music or voice, but a ripple, a pulse, slow and soft, moving through the fabric of nothing. And from that ripple everything began. The universe, vast and stretching, was not born with a roar but with a wave. That first wave was the beginning of space, of time, of form. And though we do not remember it with our minds, our bodies carry its echo, because waves did not stop at the beginning. They built everything that came after. Waves are not things, they are movements, patterns of up and down, pressure and release, stretch and pull. They can travel through water, through air, through the very skin of space itself. They can be loud or invisible, gentle or vast, and they carry energy from one place to another without ever truly traveling themselves. They are a kind of memory in motion, a way for the universe to pass along what it knows. We see waves most clearly in water. A stone falls into a pond and ripples move outward. The stone sinks, but the waves keep going. That is their nature. They are not the object, they are the response. They are the way stillness answers disturbance. Even a breath on still water creates a story told in rings. This is the essence of a wave. It moves through, not away. But waves are not just found in lakes and oceans. They live in the air, too. Every sound you've ever heard is a wave of pressure moving through the air. When someone speaks, their vocal cords vibrate. That vibration pushes against the air and pulses. Those pulses travel, bounce, shift, and eventually touch your ear. Inside, tiny hairs pick up the movement and pass it to your brain. And suddenly, a sound appears not as a wave but as a word, a laugh, a song, a whisper in the dark. Light, too, is a wave. It moves not through air but through the electric and magnetic fields that fill all space. A ripple in one causes a ripple in the other, and the result is light, a wave that travels fast, so fast that it circles the Earth 7 times in a single second. Light does not need a medium. It is the medium, and because of this, it can move through the vacuum of space. The stars we see are messages carried on light waves, traveling for millions of years to reach our eyes. And waves go even further. The universe itself is filled with the hum of ancient waves left over from the Big Bang. This radiation, this cosmic background, still whispers in every direction. It is faint, stretched thin by time, but it is there. It carries the shape of the early universe. Scientists have mapped it like a baby photo of the cosmos and seen in it the first wrinkles of structure, the seeds of galaxies, of planets, of life. The universe, it seems, was never silent. It has always been singing. But waves do not always bring harmony. They can collide, interfere, build each other up, or cancel each other out. Two waves in phase create a larger wave. Two out of phase create silence. This is called interference, and it happens everywhere. In sound, in light, in the way we feel. The way two people speak can create resonance or dissonance. The way our emotions move can echo or cancel. We too are made of waves, of breath, of blood, of brain activity. And those waves, like all others, can align or struggle. The very atoms that make up your body vibrate. They do not sit still. Their electrons shift, their bonds sway. Temperature is just the speed of this vibration. The warmer something is, the faster its atoms move. Cold is slow motion. Warmth is the dance of matter. And even at absolute zero, when all motion should stop, quantum waves still twitch beneath the surface. They cannot be stilled, because in quantum physics, even silence has a shape. Waves allow us to see. They allow us to hear. They allow us to communicate across oceans. They allow birds to sing, whales to navigate, bees to dance. They shape the weather. They shape the tides. They shape the space between galaxies. Without them, the universe would have form but no motion, shape but no voice. It would be a picture, not a song. And waves are not always large. They can be tiny, brief, barely there. A ripple in your skin when someone touches you. A flicker in your eye when light changes. A tremble in your chest when a memory stirs. These are waves too, signals moving gently through nerves, carrying the world into the mind. They do not shout. They do not need to. They are quiet couriers, bringing feeling, meaning, presence. Even time may be shaped by waves. Some scientists believe time itself could be a vibration, a slow pulse stretched across space. If this is true, then every moment is a crest or a trough. And we, living within it, are riding something ancient and vast. We are not separate from the wave. We are part of it. So the next time you hear the wind in the trees, or the hush of a faraway train, or the laughter of someone you love, pause. You are not just hearing sound. You are receiving energy shaped by space, carved by motion, delivered by time. That wave traveled through the world to find you. It passed through walls, around corners, into your ears and into your thoughts. And in that moment you became part of the song. Waves do not last forever. They fade, they scatter, they are absorbed, but in the time they exist, they connect. They bridge distance. They carry touch without touch, movement without motion. They are the softest way the universe can speak, and all you have to do is listen. Let us now drift more deeply into the quiet sea of vibration, where not all waves can be heard and not all music is made for the ears. Waves surround us in ways we do not always recognize. They are in the soft shiver of skin touched by wind, the low thrum of a train passing underground, the rhythm of the heart against ribs. These are the body's waves, felt, not heard, whispering reminders that we are always in motion, even when we sit still. Even in silence, something is moving. Inside your chest, your heart pulses in waves of pressure. Each beat sends a surge of blood through your arteries. This movement creates ripples, tiny, measurable fluctuations. Doctors listen to them, chart them, interpret them. An irregular rhythm is more than just a sound out of step. It is a change in the body's pattern, a signal that something needs attention. And in the brain, the waves are even more delicate. Electrical signals called brain waves flow in pulses. Some are fast and sharp, tied to focus and action. Others are slow and wide, connected to sleep, to dreams, to rest. In these waves, your mind reveals its music. And even sleep, that most private of human rituals, is guided by waves. In the dark, when your eyes close and your body sinks, your brain does not go silent. Instead, it changes its rhythm. It lets go of the faster waves of waking and slips into the slow, rolling waves of deep rest. These delta waves carry you downward gently into healing, into memory sorting, into dreams. Without them, the brain cannot repair, cannot remember, cannot breathe freely through the tides of night. Even unconscious, you are moving. In the natural world, waves are sculptors. Look to the desert and you'll see sand shaped by wind, lines and ridges carved by invisible hands. These are standing waves where energy and space align just enough to leave form behind. In water, waves wear down cliffs, shape coasts, form beaches. The land you walk on is partly the memory of water's rhythm, its gentle insistence over time. Nothing pushes like a wave, softly, again and again, until stone becomes sand. Animals live by waves too. Whales sing through the ocean, sending low rumbles for miles. Bats map the air with ultrasonic clicks, bouncing sound to see their world. Elephants communicate with infrasound, vibrations too low for human ears but strong enough to travel through the ground. They can feel the footfalls of distant herds, the thunder of storms before they come. Waves let them speak across space. Let them sense things long before sight. We too feel sound through touch. If you place your hand on a speaker playing music, you can feel the vibration. The same is true of your bones, your chest, your jaw. This is why bass notes rumble low in the body, why drums make you want to move. Some deaf people learn music by feeling these vibrations. Sound is not just for hearing, it is for sensing. The skin listens. The body remembers. And sound can shape more than feeling. In a science called cymatics, sound waves are used to move particles. When a surface vibrates with sound, sand or water on it forms patterns, circles, spirals, lines. The patterns change with the pitch. What was chaos becomes shape. What was invisible becomes visible. The wave writes its name in the matter it touches. This happens inside you too. Your voice is made of waves, shaped by breath, by throat, by tongue. It carries your thoughts into the air, gives them shape and life. Each time you speak, your body becomes an instrument, and each voice is different because each body is different. Your voice is your wave. No one else has the same pattern. No one else carries your exact tone. Even silence has a shape. In acoustics, silence is not the absence of sound, it is the balance of it. A quiet room still holds echoes, still holds breath. The best silence is alive, not empty. It waits, it listens, it allows. And sometimes it reveals what sound hides. The pause between notes in a song, the stillness after thunder, the breath before words. These are not gaps, they are part of the rhythm. The earth itself vibrates. Seismic waves move through the planet when tectonic plates shift. These waves carry information about the layers below, about magma, rock, water. Geologists listen to them like doctors listen to hearts. Earthquakes are sudden reminders of these hidden rhythms, but even without tremors, the planet hums. It is not loud, but it is real. In recent years, scientists discovered that stars sing, too. Not with sound we can hear, but with oscillations, waves that ripple through their gases. These starquakes create patterns that can be measured from light years away. By listening to the music of a star, we can know its size, its age, even its heart. The stars are not silent. They are symphonies made of light. The universe is not a void. It is a sea of waves. Gravity waves, light waves, sound waves, particle waves, all of them carrying something, all of them passing through. We do not float in emptiness. We float in vibration, in signals, in rhythm. Every particle, every planet, every living thing is part of the pattern. So when you feel alone, remember this: you are not still. You are not isolated. You are a node in a web of movement, a receiver of waves. A sender of them, too. Every heartbeat, every word, every breath creates a ripple. It moves outward. It touches something. It changes space, even just a little. You are not the silence. You are the shape within it. Now let us follow the last ripple of this story, where the loudness fades and only rhythm remains. By now, you've seen how waves move through water, through air, through skin and light and thought. But there is something deeper, something quieter that lies beneath it all. The wave is not just a movement. It is a way the universe remembers how to continue. It is the shape of persistence, and it does not need to be seen or heard to be real. It only needs to be felt. Inside the atom, waves ripple in silence. Particles do not sit like marbles, they shimmer like songs. Electrons are not fixed points but patterns of possibility, each one a dance between being and maybe. This is quantum mechanics, the science of uncertainty, the music of the tiny. In this world, everything is a wave until it is measured, and that means that everything begins as potential. That means you too are born of possibility, not fixed, not final, but always shifting, always becoming. This idea that matter itself is vibration reaches far beyond physics. In string theory, the tiniest pieces of the universe are not particles at all, but vibrating loops, like the strings of a violin, each one playing a note. The note it plays determines whether it is an electron, a quark, a photon. The universe, then, might be a grand instrument, and reality the music it creates. You are made not just of atoms, but of harmonies, not just of mass, but of melody. And yet, for all their power, waves are fragile. They can be blocked, broken, silenced, but even then they do not disappear completely. A faint echo always remains. The universe is full of these echoes, old light, old sound, old tremors. When a bell rings, it eventually stops, but the wave it created may still be moving, absorbed into walls, into skin, into air. In this way, nothing ever really vanishes. It simply becomes quieter. So what then do we do with this knowledge? What does it mean to live in a world made of waves? Perhaps it means we are not just observers, we are participants. Every word you speak sends ripples. Every kindness, every breath, every silence is a wave passing into someone else's space. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to move mountains to make a difference. Sometimes, the softest vibration lasts the longest. Think of lullabies passed down through generations. Think of footsteps on old wooden floors. Think of the hush that falls before someone speaks the truth. These are waves too, carried in memory, in matter, in time. They change people. They mark moments. They create stories. And the stories become part of who we are. This is how culture moves, how knowledge survives, how love is felt across oceans. A word sent by radio, a song whispered into a phone, a thought written down and read years later. Each one is a wave, a pattern carried through space and time, connecting lives that never touched, voices that never met. And this is why music matters, not just as entertainment but as architecture. Music shapes space, it shapes mood, it brings order to emotion and rhythm to chaos. Even in silence, music lingers, the pause between notes, the breath before the chorus. These are waves too, moments shaped by what isn't heard. Even your breath is a wave. In, out, the lungs expand, the ribs rise, the air moves gently in spirals, and your body listens to this rhythm. Your heart sinks with it. Your mind softens with it. You are not separate from the wave, you are the wave, made of motion, held by silence. And when life becomes loud, when noise surrounds you, it is the return to stillness that reminds you what matters. Not because it is empty, but because it is full of potential. Stillness is where the next wave begins, the pause before the next thought, the soft center where choices are made, where rest is found. Waves teach us that nothing is static, that everything is passing through. That joy, like grief, rises and falls, that no state of mind is permanent, that every pain will shift, every tension will ease, every sound will fade. And this is not a reason for sadness. It is a reason for peace. To know that even when you feel stuck, you are still in motion, still moving, still part of the song. And perhaps this is what the universe has always wanted to say, not in words but in rhythm, that you belong, that your voice matters, that your presence makes a difference. Because in a world made of waves, every touch, every glance, every silence echoes. You are a note in a melody that began before stars were born, and it continues through you. So let the silence hold you now, not as absence but as presence, not as emptiness but as readiness. You do not need to fill it. You do not need to break it. You only need to breathe into it and let it carry you. You are part of the shape, part of the pulse, part of the song. And in that song there is no ending, only return, only rhythm, only waves. There is a kind of silence we do not hear and a kind of darkness we do not see. It is not the darkness of night, which is filled with stars, or the shadow cast by your hand in sunlight. It is something deeper, softer, more complete. It is the kind of darkness that exists between galaxies, between particles, between what we know and what we wonder. It surrounds everything, and yet it does not speak. This is not the absence of light. It is the presence of mystery. And for centuries, we have chased it, trying to give shape to what does not shine. In the beginning, humans thought of darkness as the opposite of light. One revealed, the other concealed. Day showed the world, night hid it. The fire kept the dark away, and with it came safety, warmth, and sight. But darkness always returned. It arrived each evening without fail, wrapping the world in quiet. It was not cruel, it simply was. And in that stillness, early thinkers began to wonder, was darkness only the space where light had yet to go, or was it something more? As science grew, we found ways to split light, to bend it, to understand its colors and speeds. We measured wavelengths and frequencies, counted photons, built telescopes to catch even the faintest glow from distant stars. But the more we learned about light, the more we noticed something strange. There was far less of it than there should be. The galaxies we could see were not enough to explain the way they moved. Something unseen was pulling at them, keeping them from spinning apart. There was gravity where there was no matter. Something invisible was holding everything together. We called it dark matter, not because it was evil or empty, but because it could not be seen. It did not emit light, reflect it, or absorb it. It passed through the universe like a ghost, untouched, unnoticed, and yet undeniable. It made up most of the mass in the universe, but we could not touch it. We could only feel its pull. Galaxies spin the way they do because of dark matter. Stars cling to their spiral arms because of it. Clusters of galaxies stay together because dark matter threads between them like invisible bridges. Without it, the cosmos would unravel. Everything would drift. But with it, there is structure, balance, quiet strength. It is the scaffold of the universe, the unseen frame that holds the stars. And still, no one knows what it is. We have sent detectors deep underground, hopping to catch a single particle. We have watched the sky for subtle distortions, hopping to see dark matter bend the light from distant galaxies. We have mapped its fingerprints in the cosmic background radiation, the leftover glow of the early universe. And though we cannot yet see it directly, the pattern is there. Like footprints in snow, like ripples in still water, something has passed through. Dark matter is not the only shadow we chase. There is something even more elusive, something that pushes, not pulls. As we observe the universe, we expected its expansion to slow over time. Gravity should pull everything inward like a ball thrown into the air. But that is not what we saw. Instead, the universe was expanding faster, accelerating, as if pushed by something we could not see. This force, unknown and invisible, was named dark energy. If dark matter holds things together, dark energy drives them apart. Together, they make up over 95% of everything. The matter we know, the stars, the planets, the trees, the oceans, you and me, is just a tiny fraction. We are not made of the main ingredients of the universe. We are made of its leftovers. And yet, those leftovers are the only parts that glow. This is perhaps the quietest truth in all of science, that most of what exists cannot be seen, not even with our most powerful tools. It is not hidden. It is simply beyond the reach of light. And still, we feel its presence. In the way galaxies cluster, in the way the universe stretches, in the way gravity pulls and space expands. There is poetry in this, not just that something unseen shapes everything, but that we keep looking for it. That we build machines in mountains and launch satellites into the dark, that we shine light into nothingness and wait for an answer, that we trust the pull of what we cannot touch. And perhaps the darkness is not empty at all. Perhaps it is full of questions we have not yet learned how to ask. Perhaps it is waiting, not to be revealed but to be respected. It is easy to love light, but darkness too has value. It gives contrast. It gives depth. It lets light mean something. The night sky, after all, is not a canvas of stars. It is a sea of black where stars float like thoughts. Without the dark, the stars would not shine. Without the silence, the song would be noise. Without mystery, knowledge would be thin. So let yourself rest in this shadow, not in fear but in awe. Let it remind you that not everything must be seen to be real, that some truths arrive quietly, without brilliance, without sound, and that you, made of stardust and thought, are part of a universe whose most powerful forces are invisible. You do not need to chase the light to find meaning. Sometimes meaning lies in the space between, in the weight of nothing, in the shape of what we do not yet know. Let's step more deeply now into the quiet spaces, where the light does not reach and questions echo longer than answers. This is the realm of invisible things, of forces that shape galaxies without glowing, of energy that moves the universe without a single sound. If darkness was once thought to be the absence of everything, now we know it is the presence of something vast, something silent, something fundamental. Dark matter surrounds us in ways we cannot see. It forms great halos around galaxies, giving them weight they do not show. If galaxies were boats, dark matter would be the water, holding them afloat, steering their motion, invisible but essential. It does not gather into stars. It does not burn. It cannot be held in the hand or caught in the eye. But it can be mapped gently by the way it tugs on the things we do see. Astronomers observe this in galaxy rotation curves. Stars far from the center of a galaxy move faster than expected. According to the rules of Newtonian physics, they should be flung away like riders on a spinning carousel without straps. But they stay. Something unseen holds them, something stronger than visible matter alone. That something, dark matter, creates a kind of invisible gravity, and it's everywhere, not clustered like planets, not glowing like stars, but scattered like dust across space. Imagine a spiderweb stretched across the cosmos. Each strand is made not of silk but of dark matter, stretched thin between galaxies, connecting clusters, forming a vast skeleton of structure. Galaxies are not randomly scattered. They live in filaments like beads on a string, drawn together by gravity's invisible hand. And this hand belongs mostly to dark matter. Without it, the early universe would have remained smooth. There would be no stars, no galaxies, no clusters, only haze. But with its structure formed, light had something to cling to. And what of dark energy, the stranger, quieter force? While dark matter pulls, dark energy pushes. It does not gather or cluster. It stretches space itself, expanding the distance between things. This expansion was first discovered through distant supernovae, exploding stars used like mile markers across space. Scientists expected them to slow down over time, but they didn't. Instead, they showed that galaxies were accelerating away from each other. The universe was not slowing. It was speeding up. No one expected this. It was as if the fabric of space had decided to stretch faster, like a balloon inflating from within. The cause was unknown. The effect was clear. Whatever dark energy is, it now defines the future of the cosmos. Over time, if it continues, galaxies will drift farther apart. Light will stretch thinner. Stars will die without replacement. Eventually, everything we know may be lost in a soft, quiet drift toward nothingness. But even in this slow unraveling, there is beauty. Dark energy is not violent. It does not rip or tear. It expands gently like a breath drawn slowly over billions of years. And the universe responds not with panic but with elegance. Stars burn through their fuel. Galaxies continue their spiral. Time marches on in silence. And here we are in the middle of this unfolding, watching with instruments so sensitive they can detect the dim glow of a photon born when the universe was still young. We have mapped the cosmic microwave background, the faint radiation left over from the Big Bang. In it, we see not emptiness but tiny fluctuations, dots and waves. These were the seeds of everything. But the way they spread, the way they cooled, the way they bent, It all suggests that dark matter and dark energy were there from the very beginning. Not additions, not afterthoughts, but original parts of the story. It is humbling to know how much we do not know. Every discovery reminds us that our eyes are limited, our tools imperfect. But still we try. We build better detectors. We design experiments deep underground, shielded from noise, hopping to catch just one dark matter particle, just one interaction. So far we have seen none, but absence is not failure. It is patience. Perhaps dark matter is something we've never imagined. A new particle, a different kind of mass. Perhaps it interacts only through gravity. Perhaps it is not matter at all, but a sign that gravity behaves differently at large scales. Scientists debate. They disagree. But they continue, because the shadow still pulls. And perhaps dark energy is not an energy at all, but a flaw in our understanding of space. Maybe the fabric of the universe is stranger than we think. Maybe expansion is not driven but built in. Maybe what we call darkness is not an enemy of light, but a partner. A companion that balances, that guides, that shapes. We are made of atoms, tiny, glowing, bonded. But atoms are the exception, not the rule. Most of the universe is made of something else. Something we cannot see. Something we cannot yet name. But if we listen closely to the way galaxies move, to the way space expands, to the silence between the stars, we can feel its presence. We can see its outline. We can trace its influence. And in doing so, we remember something important, that not all knowledge comes with clarity. That sometimes the most powerful truths arrive wrapped in darkness. That mystery is not a failure of science, but its beginning. And that the search for what cannot be seen is not a blind pursuit, but a careful reaching, a listening, a willingness to dwell in the unknown. So sit with the shadow. Let it surround you. Let it remind you that you live in a universe whose deepest truths are not lit but felt, not obvious but undeniable, that you are held by forces you do not understand, that most of what shapes you was never meant to be seen, but was meant to be known. Let us gently close this story by stepping fully into the quiet presence of what cannot be seen. Darkness has always been our companion, not as fear but as backdrop. It is the space where stars are born, where galaxies breathe, where time flows uninterrupted. It is not nothing. It is not failure. It is the foundation on which light rests. Though we call it dark, what we chase is not empty. Dark matter holds galaxies in shape. Dark energy stretches space itself. Together they are the stage upon which the visible universe performs. Without them, stars would fly apart. Light would never reach us. The night sky would be still and blank. But with them, the cosmos hums with quiet order. Shadows cradle light. Silence cradles sound. And still, the truth is soft. We do not understand most of what exists. Our greatest knowledge is dwarfed by all that remains unknown. But this is not cause for despair. It is cause for wonder, for curiosity, for peace. To know that the universe keeps secrets not to hide them, but to give us something to reach for. You are made of light, but you move through shadow. And that shadow does not resist you. It welcomes you. It holds you. And in its stillness it waits for understanding, for discovery, for awe. So let the darkness be gentle. Let it remind you that you are part of something vast, invisible, and quietly alive. The mystery was never the problem. The mystery was always the invitation.